The reason why I'm so passionate about criminal justice and juvenile justice is basically stemming from my experience living in the streets of Boston. I was born and raised in Boston. The environment really molded what I became to some extent. And I fell victim to the court system, and I was facing 2.5 years for a minor drug charge at the age of 17. But they were trying to convict me as an adult, and I had 2.5 years over my head, and they put the pressure on me to plead guilty. Even though I wasn't necessarily incarcerated. Once I had that criminal record, I might as well have went behind the walls, because I faced the stigma, the challenges, the barriers that attached to it, and it changed my life. It changed my trajectory at the point. I feel like it changed my trajectory. No matter how well I was pushing, no matter how many college classes I was taking, no matter how hard I worked to try to stay out of the system and just prove to people that I was not what they were seeing on paper. Still, doors were getting slammed in my face, and I was starting to feel helpless, and I almost gave in. As far as the juvenile justice system, there are huge systematic kind of barriers in place that kind of conflict with the overall goal of the system, which is to rehabilitate. And when we're trying to develop the youth, when we're trying to educate them, when we're trying to get them the skills they need for jobs, when they're with adult prisoners, I mean, they're not getting into that. There's not quality education programs behind the walls. All they're doing is really mingling with a bunch of criminals. So I realized I just wanted to get my GED. So I started off just wanting to get my GED and pick up on a certificate program really quickly. So I went out, I tried all these different programs, but a lot of these programs required much from me. When I went to youth build, as soon as they opened the door, there was arms wide open. They were providing me a stipend. They were meeting all the needs, all of my needs, so that I could be a successful student. Also pushed me to think beyond the certificate. They instilled leadership in me. They infused me with love and respect, and made me feel not like as a young person, but as a young adult, and as a colleague. And they empowered me to want to take it to the next level. It was the first time that I wore a suit. I remember I was speaking at a Rotary Club. So these little points of exposure, it was the first time I got exposed to working out, to health and fitness, and I still do it to this day, you might notice. I was much skinnier before this. It was the first time that I wore a suit and spoke in front of an audience. And it was the first time that I felt transformed. And just from that first point of exposure, I immediately enrolled into the next semester, and I've maintained a 3.88 GPA since my first semester in college. My first grade in college was an A. It set a lot of pressure for me moving forward, but I have successfully maintained that. But again, it was youth field that really, made me think beyond my present situation. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it just boils down to exposure. So it boils down to access. It boils down to opportunity. You know what I mean? It's not a matter of can they do it. Give them the platform. Open the door, because they're going to succeed. Even with the work that I do at ex-offenders, they struggle to get a job. But once you get them in that job, they're the best workers you have. You know what I mean? Because they are willing, they are determined, they are thrive, they're driven by passion. They want to prove to the world that I'm not what you're painting me out to be. So give them that second chance.